Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain is a very interesting and unique multi-launch roller coaster. Built by Premier Rides and opening in 2013, I have had many years to experience this ride as this is one of my home parks. However, over the years, my thoughts on this coaster have drastically changed. In this video, I'm going to be going over my current thoughts on Full Throttle so you can know what to expect when visiting Six Flags Magic Mountain to ride this awesome multi-launch roller coaster by Premier Rides. I did just want to preface that this is all my own personal opinion, and it's totally okay if you disagree. I actually encourage all of you guys to have a discussion in the comment section down below about what you guys think of Full Throttle if you have ridden it. And of course, if you haven't already, I highly encourage you all to subscribe to my channel as I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and with your help, I think that I can do it. Also, huge thanks to Airtime Thrills Raw Footage for providing the footage for this video, and with all that out of the way, let's get into my review of Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Full Throttle is located at the front of the park in the Full Throttle Plaza. This entrance plaza, when it first opened, was really cool, having some really cool mist and steam effects, along with some really cool lighting at night and really awesome themed music. However, that just isn't the case anymore. It really seems like Magic Mountain isn't really taking care of this plaza, so I'd like to see it restored to its former glory. The theme of this ride is really strange. It's basically themed to 2010's YOLO, you only live once, live life on the edge, live life full throttle, and that really came through back in the day. However, it doesn't really come through anymore. I don't really know, it just sort of seems to be themed to GoPro footage now. Even though the theme is kind of all over the place at this time, the entrance area is still pretty nice. The Full Throttle sign is cool, and there's this really big canopy that goes over the main section of the queue. There's also a really big Jumbotron-style TV screen that plays footage from, say, GoPro extreme sports montages, different roller coasters on the Six Flags chain, and of course, advertisements. As you see on screen right now, advertisements are everywhere at this ride, and they're also everywhere in the park. It's just something that we've sort of grown to expect from Six Flags. Other than this light theming, the queue line is pretty simple. It's just a cattle pen, and then it goes up a ramp underneath Full Throttle's signature vertical loop element up into the station, which is pretty bare bones. Now, I actually rode Full Throttle on opening day, and when I rode it, it didn't actually have a station, very similar to Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego. However, now it does have a station, and while it's not anything super special, it's definitely nice to be in some form of shade in the extreme Six Flags Magic Mountain heat. When boarding Full Throttle, be prepared to not be allowed to choose your seat. This is one of the only roller coasters at Magic Mountain that seems to enforce no preferred seating. If it's a slow day, they're more than happy to accommodate preferred seating, but if you go on a busy day, do be prepared to be batched into a specific row. And that is truly a bummer because this ride is very different in the front and very different in the back, so I really wish that you were able to choose your seat. But then again, if you do go on a lighter, not very crowded day, you should be totally fine to pick your own row. But overall, I have noticed that the ride operators at Full Throttle are a lot more strict on preferred seating. The trains suck. If you've ridden any modern-day Premier Rides roller coaster, you would know how these trains go. However, these ones don't have comfort collars, and that is a huge win. But even without the comfort collars, they're still really tight and cramped. Operations on this ride are extremely slow, especially compared to the other roller coasters in the park. I'm not entirely sure why. It doesn't seem like they really have any extra steps for this one, but they do take their sweet time. It also doesn't help that the ride cycle itself is pretty gosh darn short, so do expect to be stacking on the brake run pretty much every single cycle. Alright, you've boarded your train, you've put your loose articles in the complimentary bins on the other side of the station. What do you expect? Well, you launch straight out of the station on this one, and I think that that is absolutely awesome. The ride operators, even though they are a little slow at this one, are super engaging and friendly, and they go out of their way to make sure your initial launch experience on Full Throttle is memorable. It's gotten to the point where people will actually film them and post it on Instagram and TikTok, and it's become kind of this trend where like, oh my gosh, look at this crazy ride operator, and it's the Full Throttle control operator launching the train. They'll do stuff along the lines of, do you guys want a countdown? And then they'll just send it. And stuff along those lines. My favorite one that they do is when I say ooh, you say ah, ooh, and then they send the train and everyone's screaming. It's just a great time. That's really, really good. The Operator's Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm do a very similar thing, and I just love when launch coaster operators can incorporate that kind of engagement. After the launch, you hit the signature element, which is this absolutely massive loop that gives a lot of hang time. This is a really spooky element, and it still catches me off guard, even though I've ridden this ride hundreds of times. After this, you kind of meander around the Superman Plaza, and I don't mean this in a bad way. You have a relatively forceful turn as you head up the hill and over the Superman Plaza, and you get some good views of Superman, and then you dive down the side of the mountain into a dive loop. This dive loop takes you into a tunnel where you come to a full stop, and you hear Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train as you launch backwards, up back into the dive loop. You get a little bit of hang time here, not too much, and then you have that rolling forwards acceleration into the top hat. This top hat is really unique as it's connected directly to the loop's track, taking you over the loop. Now this seems awesome, right? And it is awesome. You get insane ejector airtime in the back few rows going over this top hat, which is absolutely awesome. However, halfway down the drop, you slam to a stop, making you lurch forward into your restraint, which in my opinion is one of the most uncomfortable experiences I've ever had on a roller coaster. It's up there with Green Lantern for me. And yeah, that's the end of the ride. You slam to a stop halfway down the drop, kind of roll forward into the final brakes, turn back into the station. It's extremely short. Now what I would do to make this ride time just a little longer is instead of slamming to a stop on the drop, maybe have an inclined loop or helix or hammerhead turn or just something to kind of turn the train around into a different direction so you can have more room for a brake run. Now we know from the past Magic Mountain is not against putting roller coasters over pathways and plazas, so I'm not entirely sure why they didn't do that here. They could have used a little bit of the planter section over by Bugs Bunny World. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm no engineer, you guys. I don't know necessarily what I'm talking about here, but just from an outsider's perspective looking in, I feel like that could have easily been done, and it just wasn't to save some extra money. Because of that, unfortunately, Full Throttle's finale is very disappointing. You hit that launch, you go down that drop, and then it's over. That's it. So it really feels like half of a roller coaster and not a full roller coaster. In the past, I used that critique to say that I really didn't like this coaster, and I think in the past when talking with friends, I would give this roller coaster like a 3 out of 10, and I'd be like, I don't want to ride Full Throttle. I don't want to do Full Throttle. I don't really care about Full Throttle. Even though it is only half a coaster, I gotta put my biases aside to this ride. It really is a great half of a coaster. Get great hang time, great positive Gs, and some insane ejector airtime on this one. It truly is a special ride. Do I wish it was longer? Of course I do. Do I wish the brakes weren't as painful at the end? Of course I do. But with those aside, this ride is truly incredible, and I think that if you do extend the layout of this one, it really could easily be a 9 or potentially a 10 out of 10. This is one of, if not Premier Ride's best roller coasters. It's definitely the best Premier Rides coaster that I've ever been on. So for the final score, I'm going to be giving Full Throttle an 8 out of 10. I do think it could be higher if it was a little bit longer, but hey, this is what we got. What do you guys think of Full Throttle? Do you guys agree? Have you ridden it? If you haven't ridden it, are you looking forward to it? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.